The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the human space station New Horizon. Captain Jake Murphy sat in his command chair, watching the strange ship's approach on his main screen. 3 alien vessels moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like jewels against the black sky. "Sir, they're requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her communication station. Her voice stayed calm, but Jake could see her hands shaking slightly on the controls. Jake took a deep breath. This was it. First contact with alien life. After all the years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer was finally coming to them. "Grant permission," Jake said. "All hands, prepare for first contact protocol." The alien ships were beautiful but strange. The first one looked like it was made of crystal, with light dancing through its transparent walls. The second ship seemed to flow like water, its surface rippling and changing color. The third vessel had a hard shell with many small openings, like a giant insect. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez hurried onto the bridge, carrying her tablet and looking excited but worried. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, even though she had never seen real aliens before today. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her lab coat was wrinkled from working late nights preparing for this moment. "Captain, I've been studying their ships," Lisa said quickly. "Their technology is incredible, but something seems off. Look at these readings." She showed Jake her tablet screen. The numbers and graphs meant nothing to him, but Lisa's worried face told him everything he needed to know. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. "Their life support systems are working at maximum power just to keep them alive in normal space," Lisa explained. "It's like they need perfect conditions to survive. I think they might be very fragile." Jake nodded, but kept his attention on the main screen. The crystal ship was extending a docking tube toward their station. Soon, they would meet face to face with beings from another world. The docking bay filled with strange sounds as the alien ship connected. Hissing air, mechanical clicks, and something that sounded almost like music. Jake and his team waited in the bay, wearing their best uniforms and trying to look friendly but professional. The airlock opened, and 3 figures stepped out. The first alien was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in beautiful patterns. And when it spoke, the sound came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The universal translator clipped to Jake's belt turned the sounds into words he could understand. "I am Commander Zexhai of the Valerian Empire," the crystal being said. "We come in peace." The second alien looked like it was made of water, held in a loose human shape. It flowed more than walked, and its voice sounded like waves on a beach. "I am Hydro Singer Blue Wave of the Mordun Deep States." The third alien looked most like an insect Jake had ever seen. It had 6 arms, large compound eyes, and a hard shell that clicked when it moved. "I am Hive Mind Click Tar of the Kithir Collective." Jake stepped forward and smiled. "Welcome to New Horizon Station. I'm Captain Jake Murphy of the Earth Defense Force. This is Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, our science officer." The aliens looked at each other through their helmet visors. Jake noticed they all wore complex environmental suits, even though the station's air was perfectly safe. "We received your distress signals from the deep space mining operation," Commander Zexhai said. "We came to offer assistance and to make contact with your species." "We're grateful for your help," Jake replied. "Though I should mention, our miners were rescued by another human ship yesterday, but we're very excited to meet you." The alien seemed confused by this. Hydro Singer Blue Wave flowed closer, her watery form shifting nervously. "Your people work in deep space? In the void between stars?" "Of course," Jake said, not understanding why this surprised him. "We have mining operations, research stations, and transport ships all over the system." The 3 aliens exchanged looks again. Clicktar's compound eyes clicked as they focused on Jake. "Your species lives in space? Away from your homeworld?" Lisa stepped forward, sensing confusion. "We live on our planet too. Earth is our home. But we also work and travel in space." "You live on the surface of your planet?" Commander Zexhai asked, his crystal body flickering with what might have been shock. "Yes," Jake said slowly. "Where else would we live?" The aliens went very quiet. Through their translators, Jake could hear them talking to each other in their own languages. The words came fast and urgent. Is something wrong? Lisa asked. Commander Zexai turned back to them. We must ask, what class of world is your Earth? Jake and Lisa looked at each other. Class. Jake said, I'm not sure what you mean. The environmental classification, Hydro Singer Blue Wave explained. Is it a Paradise class world? Garden class? Stable class. Lisa pulled up information on her tablet. Earth has varied climates. We have mountains, oceans, deserts, forests. The weather changes with seasons. We get storms, earthquakes, volcanoes. The alien stepped back. Clicktar made a sharp clicking sound that the translator couldn't convert to words. Storms. Commander Zexai whispered. Earthquakes? And you live there? It's our home, Jake said simply. Where else would we live? The aliens huddled together, their environmental suits humming louder. Jake could see warning lights flashing on their equipment. Captain Murphy, Commander Zexai said carefully, we would like to visit your world, to see this Earth for ourselves. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. Sir, I don't think that's a good idea. Their suits are already struggling with our station's environment. Earth might be too much for them. Jake looked at the aliens, who were waiting for his answer. They had come all this way to help humans they didn't even know. The least he could do was show them around. Of course, Jake said. We'd be happy to show you Earth. I know just a place. The aliens made more urgent sounds to each other. Finally, Commander Zexai nodded. We accept your invitation. When can we depart? How about tomorrow morning? Jake suggested. I'll take you to my hometown. It's beautiful this time of year. As the aliens returned to their ship to prepare, Lisa pulled Jake aside. Jake, I have a bad feeling about this, she whispered. They're treating our normal environment like it's dangerous. What if Earth really is too much of them? Jake watched the alien ships through the viewport. Then I guess we'll find out what makes humans different. He didn't know how right he was. The shuttle bay of New Horizons Station buzzed with activity as Captain Jake Murphy ran through his final checks. The human transport shuttle Rocky Mountain sat ready for departure, its hull gleaming under the bright lights. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez stood nearby, checking her equipment one last time and looking worried. Remember, Jake, Lisa said quietly, their environmental suits are already working at maximum capacity. If something goes wrong down there, it'll be fine, Jake replied, but he could hear the doubt in his own voice. Boulder is beautiful this time of year. Perfect spring weather. The alien delegation approached the shuttle, their environmental suits humming and clicking with activity. Commander Zexai's crystal body seemed dimmer than yesterday, and Hydro Singer Blue Wave's watery form kept shifting nervously. Clicktar moved with quick, jerky motions that made her look ready to run. Flight Lieutenant Sam Parker climbed out of the pilot seat and walked over to greet them. He was a calm, experienced pilot who had flown through asteroid fields and solar storms without breaking a sweat. Morning, everyone, Sam said cheerfully. Beautiful day for flying. We got clear skies and smooth sailing all the way down. The aliens looked at each other through their helmet visors. Clear skies? Commander Zexai asked. You mean the atmospheric conditions are stable? Well, mostly, Sam laughed. There's a bit of weather moving through the Rockies, but nothing we can't handle. Clicktar made a sharp clicking sound. Weather? Moving. Lisa stepped forward. He means the atmosphere is changing. Air moves around our planet. Sometimes it brings rain or wind. All three aliens stepped backward. Warning lights began flashing on their suits. The entire planetary atmosphere is unstable? Hydro Singer Blue Wave asked, her watery form rippling with what looked like fear. Not unstable, Jake said, trying to calm them down. Just active. It's perfectly normal. Sam opened the shuttle door. Come on aboard, folks. We'll have you planet-side in no time. The interior of the shuttle was designed for human comfort, with simple seats and large windows. The aliens climbed inside carefully, their suits making worried beeping sounds as they settled into seats clearly not made for their bodies. Strap yourselves in, Sam called from the pilot's seat. We're launching in 30 seconds. The shuttle lifted off from the station and turned toward Earth. Through the windows, the blue and white marble of humanity's homeworld grew larger and larger. Jake felt the familiar pride he always experienced when seeing his planet from space. It was beautiful, alive, and home. The aliens pressed against the windows, staring at Earth with what looked like horror. "Your world is covered in liquid," Hydro Singer Blue Wave whispered. "So much water. How do you control it?" "We don't control it," Lisa explained. "The oceans are natural. They've always been there." "Natural?" Commander Zexhi's crystal form flickered. "Uncontrolled water covering most of your planet's surface?" Clicktar pointed at the swirling white patterns in Earth's atmosphere. "What are those formations moving across your world?" "Clouds," Sam called back from the cockpit. "Water vapor in the atmosphere. They bring rain and storms." The aliens made urgent sounds to each other in their own languages. Their environmental suits were working harder now, fans whirring and lights blinking faster. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the shuttle began to shake slightly. It was normal atmospheric turbulence, something Sam had experienced thousands of times. But the aliens gripped their seats like they were about to die. "What is happening?" Commander Zexhi demanded, his crystal body flashing with alarm. "Are we crashing?" "Just a bit of turbulence," Sam said casually, not even looking back. "The jet stream is pretty active today. Should smooth out once we get below 30,000 feet. Jet stream?" Clicktar clicked rapidly. "There are streams of air moving at high speed through your atmosphere." "Sure," Jake said. "Rivers of fast-moving air. They go all around the planet. Pretty useful for flying, actually." Hydro Singer Blue Wave made a sound like water boiling. Her form was shifting so rapidly that Lisa worried she might fall apart entirely. The shuttle broke through a layer of clouds, and suddenly they were flying through gray mist. Moisture streaked across the windows, and lightning flickered in the distance. "Oh, looks like we're catching the edge of that storm system," Sam noted. "Might get a little bumpy for a few minutes." The word storm seemed to break something in the aliens. All their environmental suits began blaring alarms. Commander Zexhi was flashing like a strobe light. Hydro Singer Blue Wave was foaming and bubbling, and Clicktar was clicking so fast it sounded like machine gun fire. "Storm." Commander Zexhi gasped. "We are flying through an active storm system?" "Just the edge of it," Sam said, still calm. "The main storm is about 50 miles east. We'll miss the worst of it." "The worst of it?" Clicktar shrieked. "There is something worse than this." Lisa looked out the window at the lightning dancing between the clouds. To her, it was beautiful, natural, almost peaceful. To the aliens, it must look like flying through hell itself. The shuttle broke through the clouds, and suddenly the Rocky Mountains appeared below them. Massive peaks covered in snow stretched as far as the eye could see, with deep valleys carved between them. The late spring sun made everything sparkle like diamonds. Jake smiled at the sight of home. There she is, the Colorado Rockies. Beautiful, isn't she? The alien stared down at the mountains in complete silence. Finally, Commander Zexhi spoke in a whisper. "Those formations, they are unstable geological structures?" "Mountains," Lisa said. "They're made of solid rock. They've been there for millions of years." "Millions of years of active geological instability." Hydro Singer Blue Wave translated. "How do you survive living near such dangerous terrain?" Sam pointed out the front window. "There's Boulder right at the base of the foothills. Home sweet home." The city of Boulder spread out below them, nestled between the Great Plains and the Rocky Mountains. From above, it looked peaceful and welcoming. Houses and buildings dotted the landscape, connected by roads and surrounded by green parks and trees. "Your people build their homes directly on the unstable surface?" Clicktar asked in disbelief. "In the shadow of those massive geological formations?" "Best view in Colorado," Jake said proudly. As they descended toward Boulder's airport, the aliens could see people everywhere. Humans walking on sidewalks, driving cars, sitting in parks, completely exposed to what the aliens now understood was an incredibly dangerous environment. "They are outside," Commander Zexhi whispered, "without environmental protection, in the open air. It's a nice day," Sam said as he brought the shuttle in for landing. 62 degrees, light breeze, partly cloudy. Perfect weather for a visit. The shuttle touched down gently on the tarmac. Through the windows, they could see humans working around the airport, completely unprotected from their planet's hostile environment. Sam turned off the engines and stood up, stretching. Well, folks, welcome to Earth. Hope you brought your appetites, because my wife makes the best green chili this side of the Continental Divide. The aliens sat frozen in their seats, staring out at the world beyond the shuttle. This was supposed to be a diplomatic visit to a new civilization. Instead, they had discovered that humans were living on what could only be described as a death world. And worse yet, the humans seemed to think it was paradise. Captain Murphy, Commander Zexai said slowly, "Are you certain it is safe for us to leave this vessel?" Jake looked out at his hometown, where people were going about their normal daily lives under an open sky, breathing unfiltered air, completely trusting in their dangerous world to keep them alive. "Safe as houses," Jake said with a smile. "Come on, let me show you what we call home." The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss, and Boulder's spring air flowed into the cabin. To Jake Murphy, it smelled like home, fresh mountain air with hints of pine and the promise of afternoon thunderstorms. To the alien delegation, it was their first breath of an alien atmosphere that could kill them in minutes. Captain Jake stepped out first, taking a deep breath and stretching in the warm sunshine. "Ah, that's better. Nothing beats Colorado air." Dr. Lisa Rodriguez followed, checking her tablet and watching the aliens carefully. Their environmental suits were working overtime now, with fans spinning faster and warning lights blinking constantly. Commander Zexai emerged from the shuttle slowly, his crystal body dim and flickering. Every step seemed to cause him pain as his suit struggled to protect him from Earth's hostile environment. Hydro Singer Blue Wave flowed out next, her watery form held together by what looked like pure willpower and advanced technology. Clicktar skittered out last, moving in quick, nervous bursts. Across the tarmac, a man in a dark suit walked toward them with a big smile. Mayor Tony Williams had been looking forward to this moment for weeks. First contact with alien life, and it was happening in his city. "Welcome to Boulder," Tony called out, extending his hand toward Commander Zexai. "I'm Mayor Tony Williams. We're honored to have you visit our little city." The alien commander stared at the outstretched hand like it was a weapon. Physical contact between species without proper sterilization protocols? The very idea was terrifying. "The mayor wishes to touch you," Clicktar translated for her companions. "A form of greeting, perhaps?" Jake stepped in quickly. "It's called a handshake, a friendly gesture." He demonstrated by shaking Tony's hand firmly. Perfectly safe. Commander Zexai extended one crystal finger and barely touched Tony's palm before pulling back. The contact lasted less than a second, but it was enough to make Tony beam with pride. "Wonderful," Tony said. "I've got so many things planned for you. The weather's perfect today for hiking, and tomorrow we might get some exciting thunderstorms to show you." The aliens huddled together, their suits beeping frantically. Thunderstorms? This human was talking about electrical discharges in the atmosphere like they were entertainment. "Perhaps we should start with something simple," Lisa suggested, noticing the aliens' distress. "Maybe a tour of the city?" Tony led them to a waiting van, chattering happily about Boulder's history and attractions. As they drove through the streets, the aliens pressed against the windows, staring in horror at the scenes outside. Humans were everywhere, completely unprotected. Children played in parks, their young bodies exposed to dangerous solar radiation and unpredictable atmospheric conditions. Joggers ran along trails, breathing unfiltered air and trusting their lives to their planet's unstable environment. People sat at outdoor cafes, eating and drinking while surrounded by countless invisible threats. "Look at that," Hydro Singer Blue Wave whispered, pointing at a group of teenagers playing basketball. "The young ones are engaging in physical stress activities, in the open air, without medical supervision." "That's just basketball," Tony said cheerfully. "Great exercise. I used to play in high school myself." Clicktar clicked rapidly. "You subjected your developing body to physical stress in this uncontrolled environment, Every day after school, Tony laughed. Rain or shine. The van pulled up to a small coffee shop with outdoor seating. Through the windows, they could see people inside laughing and talking, completely relaxed despite living on what the aliens now understood was a death world. Best coffee in Boulder, Tony announced. And Jenny makes excellent pastries. Inside the shop, the smell of fresh coffee and baked goods filled the air. The aliens' environmental suits immediately began analyzing the air for toxins and contaminants. To their amazement, the humans were breathing this complex mixture of organic compounds without any apparent concern. Jenny Martinez looked up from behind the counter with a warm smile. She was a young woman with bright eyes and flour on her apron, the picture of someone completely at ease in her environment. "Morning, Tony," she called out. "And you must be our visitors from space. Welcome to Earth." The alien stared at her in fascination. This human showed no fear, no concern about contamination from contact with alien life forms. She simply treated them like any other customers. "What can I get you folks?" Jenny asked. "Fair warning, though, we might need to close early if those storms come in like they're predicting." Commander Zexai leaned toward Jake. "She speaks of atmospheric electrical disturbances as if they are routine." "They are routine," Jake said. "We get thunderstorms most summer afternoons. It's one of the nice things about living here." Jenny busied herself making coffee for the humans while chattering about the weather. "Yeah, the radar shows some big cells building up over the mountains. Could get some hail and lightning later. Perfect weather for staying inside with a good book." The aliens watched her with growing amazement. She was discussing deadly weather phenomena with the same casual tone other species might use to talk about meal preferences. "Do you not evacuate when electrical storms approach?" Hydro Singer Blue Wave asked through her translator. Jenny laughed. "Evacuate? For a thunderstorm? That would mean evacuating every summer afternoon. We just go inside and wait for it pass." Clicktar's compound eyes focus on Jenny intently. "Your species does not flee from dangerous atmospheric disturbances?" "Not unless it's something really serious, like a tornado," Jenny said, wiping down the counter. "And even then, we usually just go to the basement until it passes." The aliens exchanged urgent communications in their own languages. These humans didn't just survive on this death world. They had adapted so completely that they barely recognized the danger surrounding them. Through the coffee shop windows, they could see the mountains rising up behind the city. Massive, ancient upheavals of rock and stone that could shift and collapse at any moment. Yet the humans had built their homes right at the base of these geological hazards. "Why do you live so close to those unstable formations?" Commander Zexai asked Tony. Tony followed his gaze to the mountains and smiled. "The Rockies? They're beautiful, aren't they? I've lived here my whole life. Couldn't imagine living anywhere else. But the geological instability..." Clicktar began. "The mountains have been here for millions of years," Tony said. "They'll be here long after we're gone. Besides, where would you rather wake up every morning? Looking at those peaks or staring at some boring flat landscape?" Dr. Lisa Rodriguez was taking notes on her tablet, documenting every interaction. The aliens weren't just surprised by human adaptability. They were shocked by human attitude. These weren't desperate survivors clinging to life on a hostile world. These were people who loved their dangerous planet and chose to live here. Outside, the wind was picking up and clouds were building over the mountains. To the humans, it looked like the promise of an interesting afternoon. To the aliens, it looked like their worst nightmare was about to begin. Jenny glanced out the window and smiled. "Here comes the show. You picked a great day to visit. Folks, Colorado thunderstorms are something else." As if summoned by her words, a rumble of thunder rolled down from the mountains. The aliens' environmental suits immediately went into high alert, alarms beeping and lights flashing. The humans in the coffee shop barely looked up from their conversations. Commander Zexai realized with growing horror that they hadn't landed on a planet where humans struggled to survive. They had discovered a world where humans thrived in conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours. And the humans seemed to think it was the most natural thing in the universe. "Captain Murphy," he said quietly. "I believe we need to contact our ships." The thunder was getting louder now, rolling down from the Rocky Mountains like a warning from the gods themselves. Inside Jenny's coffee shop, the alien delegation huddled around their table, while their environmental suits worked desperately to keep them alive in what they were beginning to understand was humanity's version of normal. Captain Jake Murphy sipped his coffee and watched the storm clouds building over the peaks. "Looks like a good one coming," he said to Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, who was busy documenting the aliens' increasingly panicked reactions on her tablet. Commander Zexhai was flickering like a broken light bulb, his crystal body dim and unstable. He had been trying to contact his ship for the last 10 minutes, but Earth's natural electromagnetic activity was interfering with his communications. "The atmosphere disturbance is blocking our transmissions," he said to his companions. "We may be trapped here during this electrical event." Clicktar's compound eyes darted toward the windows, where she could see the dark clouds approaching. Her environmental suit was making sounds it had never made before, warning her of energy readings that should have triggered planetary evacuation protocols. "How powerful are these atmospheric electrical discharges?" she asked Jake. Jake looked out at the approaching storm and shrugged. "Hard to say. Could be just a light show, or we might get some real boomers. Lightning around here can pack quite a punch." The casual way he described potentially lethal energy discharges made Hydro Singer Blue Wave ripple with distress. Her watery form was becoming increasingly unstable as her suit struggled to maintain her molecular cohesion in Earth's chaotic atmosphere. The coffee shop door opened with a cheerful chime, and a woman in work clothes walked in, shaking raindrops from her jacket. She was tall and strong-looking, with short brown hair and the confident stride of someone completely comfortable in her environment. "Hey, Jenny," she called out. "Better get ready to close up. This one's going to be a real light show." Jenny looked up from cleaning espresso cups and smiled. "Thanks for the heads up, Maria. How bad is it looking?" The woman walked over to the counter, nodding politely to the alien delegation. "Maria Santos, park ranger." She introduced herself to the visitors. "And it's looking like a typical spring storm. Lots of lightning, maybe some hail, definitely some good thunder." The alien stared at her in disbelief. This human was describing conditions that would require emergency shelters and medical evacuation teams on their worlds, and she was talking about it like she was discussing dinner plans. "You work outside during these electrical storms?" Commander Zexhai asked. Maria laughed. "Not during the storm itself, but before and after, sure. Part of the job. We warn hikers to get off the high peaks when lightning's coming. Make sure the campgrounds are secure. Check for fire danger. Just another day in paradise." She used the word paradise to describe a world where electrical death fell from the sky on a regular basis. Lisa Rodriguez made a note on her tablet. Humans appear to have a very different definition of paradise than other species. The thunder was getting closer now, and the first fat raindrops began hitting the windows. The aliens' environmental suits were in full alarm mode, their systems overloaded by readings they couldn't interpret. "Is there a shelter protocol we should follow?" Hydro Singer Blue Wave asked nervously. "Shelter protocol?" Maria asked, looking confused. "You mean like tornado warnings?" "Nah, this is just a regular thunderstorm. We'll be fine inside." Just then, the door opened again, and 3 more humans entered, talking and laughing as they shook water from their clothes. The first was a big man in a firefighter's uniform. The second was a construction worker still covered in dust. And the third was a young woman carrying a bag full of school supplies. "Afternoon, everyone," called out the firefighter, a friendly man with graying hair and arms like tree trunks. "Pete Johnson, Boulder Fire Department. Mind if we wait out the storm here, Jenny?" "Course not, Pete," Jenny replied. "Coffee's fresh." The construction worker, a stocky man with callous hands, nodded to the alien delegation. "Carlos Rivera, you folks picked an interesting day to visit Colorado." The young woman with the school supplies smiled brightly at the aliens. "Amy Foster, 3rd grade teacher at Boulder Elementary. Are you really from outer space? That's so cool." The aliens looked at these 3 humans in growing amazement. Each one represented a different aspect of human adaptation to their dangerous world. Pete Johnson fought fires. deliberately running toward the same kind of uncontrolled chemical reactions that most species would flee from in terror. Carlos Rivera worked construction, and what the aliens now understood were extremely variable and unpredictable environmental conditions. And Amy Foster was responsible for protecting and educating human young in the middle of all this chaos. "You fight fires?" Clicktar asked Pete, her translator struggling with the concept. 23 years on the job, Pete said proudly. "Wildfires, house fires, car accidents, you name it. Love the work." "You voluntarily expose yourself to uncontrolled combustion events?" Commander Zexhai asked in disbelief. Pete scratched his head. "Well, I wouldn't put it that way, but yeah, I guess so. Someone's got to do it." Carlos was telling Jake about a construction project up in the mountains. "We're building a new visitor center at 11,000 feet, he said. "Weather's been crazy up there. Snow one day, 70 degrees the next, then hail the size of golf balls. Keeps things interesting." The aliens heard this and nearly collapsed. This human worked at an altitude where the atmospheric pressure was dangerously low, in conditions that changed from frozen precipitation to dangerous projectiles made of ice, and he described it as interesting. Amy was equally disturbing to their worldview. "I take my kids outside for recess every day, weather permitting," she told Lisa. "They love playing in the fresh air. Of course, we have to watch for lightning and hail, but mostly it's just great to be outside." She was talking about deliberately exposing developing young humans to uncontrolled atmospheric conditions as a regular activity. On their worlds, such behavior would be considered criminal negligence. Outside, the storm was getting serious now. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by crashes of thunder that shook the building. The alien suits were screaming warnings about electromagnetic pulses and atmospheric pressure variations. The humans barely seemed to notice. "Good one," Pete said appreciatively as a particularly loud thunder crack rattled the windows. "Must be right overhead." Jenny walked over to the window to watch the show. "Look at that lightning. Isn't it beautiful?" "Beautiful." She called deadly electrical discharges beautiful. Amy was telling the aliens about her students. "They love weather days like this. We talk about how storms form, why lightning happens, how thunder works. Science in action, right outside our classroom windows. You teach the young ones about these dangerous phenomena?" Hydro Singer Blue Wave asked. "Sure," Amy said. "Knowledge is power. The more they understand about their world, the better they can live in it. Their world. Not survive in it, not endure it, but live in it." The aliens were beginning to understand that humans didn't see Earth as a hostile environment they had to overcome. They saw it as home, with all the complexity and danger that home could bring. Carlos was describing mountain construction work. "Of course, you got to respect the altitude and the weather. Lost a few projects of avalanches and rock slides over the years. But that's just part of working in the high country. Avalanches, rock slides." He was describing geological disasters as routine occupational hazards. Pete was talking about wildfire season. Gets pretty intense some years. We had one fire burn for 3 weeks straight, jumped 2 canyons, and nearly took out a whole subdivision. But we got it stopped eventually. He had fought an uncontrolled combustion event for 3 weeks. And won. Outside, the storm was reaching its peak. Lightning was striking constantly now, turning the sky into a strobing display of raw energy. The thunder was continuous, a rolling barrage of sound that would have sent most galactic species fleeing underground. The humans in the coffee shop were watching it like entertainment. "This is a good one," Maria said, checking her radio. "No report of anyone in trouble on the trails, so I guess everyone got the message and headed down in time." Commander Zexhai finally managed to get through to his ship. The conversation was brief and urgent, conducted in his own language. When he finished, he looked at his companions with what might have been despair. "They do not believe my reports," he said quietly. "They think I am suffering from atmospheric contamination, affecting my judgment." The storm began to pass as suddenly as it had arrived. The lightning moved east, the thunder faded, and sunlight started breaking through the clouds. Steam rose from the wet pavement outside, and the air smelled fresh and clean. "Well, that was fun," Jenny said, starting to clean up. Nothing like a good thunderstorm to clear the air. The humans began to leave, heading back to their normal activities, as if they hadn't just lived through what the aliens considered a natural disaster. "See you folks around," Pete said to the delegation. "Hope you enjoy the rest of your visit to our little piece of paradise." As the door closed behind him, Commander Zexhai realized they had discovered something that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about life in the universe. These weren't survivors of a death world. These were beings who had evolved to thrive in conditions that would kill most species. And they didn't even realize how remarkable they were.